The battlefield was silent, except for the faint hum of dying machines. Smoke curled into the sky, hiding the broken stars above. Kale, the alien soldier, crawled through the rubble, every movement heavy and painful. His armor was cracked, sparks flying from damaged circuits. Blood from his injuries mixed with the ash on the ground. Around him, the bodies of his comrades lay scattered, victims of a war that had turned against them in moments. He had never felt fear like this before. He had trained for battle, for war, but never for being alone and helpless. Kyle looked up at the sky. The twin suns of this planet were setting, casting red and orange shadows over the ruins. He knew he had only hours, maybe minutes, before his life slipped away. But then through the smoke he saw movement. At first he thought it was another enemy patrol. His claws tightened and his heart raced. But as the figure came closer, Kyle realized it was something completely different. A human. The human limped awkwardly, carrying a small pack. His suit was scratched and dirt covered his face. He looked ordinary, weak even, but there was something in his eyes, determination. Kyle had seen humans before, in old records and stories, but he had never expected one here. In the middle of this deadly battlefield, he crouched behind a piece of rubble, unsure what to do. Should he attack or ignore him? The human noticed Kyle immediately. He froze for a moment, then slowly raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to fight," he said in a soft, cautious voice. Kyle's translator clicked, making the words understandable. The alien soldier hesitated. Trusting a human seemed foolish. They were fragile, unpredictable, and he had seen many species turn out to be enemies. But there was something about this human that made Kyle pause. Perhaps it was the way he carried himself, with a quiet strength that hid under his small frame. Kyle stepped out from behind the rubble, careful. He made no sudden movements. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice low and rough. The human swallowed but did not step back. "My ship, it crashed," he said. "I was looking for help." His words were simple, almost too simple, but Kale sensed no lie. They stared at each other, two survivors from different worlds, each wounded, each scared. Around them the battlefield whispered with danger. Enemy drones had not yet left, patrolling silently, scanning for life. Kale knew they could attack at any moment. But right now neither of them moved. Each was studying the other, measuring trust and fear. Finally, Kyle made a decision. He could not leave this human to die even if he didn't fully trust him. "Follow me," he said. "There is a safe place nearby. But move carefully." The human nodded, relief flashing across his face. "Thank you," he whispered. They moved slowly through the ruins. Kyle's injuries made every step painful, and he noticed the human limping as well. Together, they navigated the broken terrain, avoiding the patrols of enemy drones. Kale was amazed by the human's intuition. The man seemed to know which path to take, when to hide and when to move. Kale had not expected this. Humans were often underestimated by other species, but this one, he was clever, quick-thinking, and brave. After what felt like hours, they reached a small cave hidden behind a fallen tower. Kale helped the human inside, then collapsed against the wall himself. His energy was nearly gone. The human, surprisingly strong despite his injuries, moved to gather small pieces of debris to make a fire. The warmth lit the cave, casting shadows on the walls, and Kyle realized he had not felt this safe in a long time. The human spoke quietly. "I didn't think anyone would find me, especially not an alien." Kyle looked at him, studying his face in the firelight. "I didn't expect to find a human either," he admitted. "But maybe we need each other now." Outside the cave, the wind howled through the ruins. Somewhere in the distance, enemy drones hummed, searching, relentless. The two survivors sat in silence, wounds both visible and hidden, sharing a fragile moment of trust. Kyle thought about the war, the lives lost and the mission that had failed. But for the first time he felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this human, ordinary, unexpected, but brave, was exactly what he needed to survive. Maybe together they could face what was coming next, and deep down Kyle knew that the real story was only beginning. The cave was quiet, except for the soft crackle of the fire. Kyle leaned against the wall, feeling the pain in his body pulse with every heartbeat. The human, whose name was Alex, moved carefully around the small space, checking their limited supplies. His movements were precise even though he was injured, Kyle watched him, silently impressed. He had never expected a human to survive so much on their own, let alone in a dangerous place like this. "Kyle," Alex said, breaking the silence, "we can't stay here long. They'll find us." His voice was calm, but Kyle could see the tension in his eyes. He was right. Enemy drones patrolled the area relentlessly, scanning for life signs. They were silent, mechanical hunters, and one wrong step would mean death. Kyle nodded, rising unsteadily. "Then we move, slowly, carefully, and together." They left the cave, stepping into the cold twilight. The ruins stretched around them like the bones of a fallen city. Every broken building, every scorched crater reminded Kyle of the war's cost. He kept his claws ready, his senses alert while Alex followed, holding a small weapon he had salvaged from the crash. It was simple, primitive even, but Kyle noticed the careful way Alex used it. There was skill here, hidden beneath his ordinary appearance. Suddenly, a faint hum filled the air. Kale froze. Drones. Their sensors were picking up life signs nearby. "Hide," Kyle whispered. They ducked behind a broken wall, pressing themselves against the rubble. The drones passed slowly, their glowing eyes scanning. Kyle could see the human's pulse quicken. You're good at this," Kyle said, surprised. Alex shrugged. "Instinct, I guess. My team trained me to think fast. And to survive." Kyle studied him. Humans were small and fragile, but this one, he had courage and cleverness that other species often ignored. Kyle began to understand why humans were considered unpredictable and dangerous. Once the drones moved on, they continued. Every step was careful, measured, yet Kyle could feel the humans' confidence grow. Alex suggested a route through a collapsed tunnel instead of the open streets. Kyle had not thought of it. "Good choice," he admitted, impressed. He realized that he needed this human more than he wanted to admit. Alone, he would not have made it this far. Together, their chances increased. Then a sudden explosion shook the ground. Dust and debris rained from above. Kyle and Alex were thrown to the ground. Enemy forces. Patrols had found their trail. Kyle hissed in frustration, trying to get to his feet, but Alex rolled under a piece of rubble, pulling a small explosive from his pack. "Cover me!" Alex shouted. Before Kyle could respond, Alex threw the device and it detonated with a loud boom, sending 2 drones tumbling. Kyle's jaw dropped. "Impressive," he muttered. Alex gave a small grin, ignoring the pain in his leg. "You survived this long in a war, you learn a few tricks," he said. Kyle felt a mix of respect and surprise. This ordinary human was anything but ordinary. They ran through the ruins, moving as fast as their injuries would allow. Kyle used his alien strength to lift rubble and block pathways behind them. Alex ducked, jumped, and used small gadgets to distract the enemy. They were an unlikely pair, yet their teamwork was effective. Every movement, every decision was a dance of survival, a combination of alien power and human cunning. Suddenly, Kyle stopped. Ahead, a patrol of enemy soldiers blocked their path. There was no way around. Alex looked at Kyle, breathing heavily, sweat and dirt streaking his face. "We fight," Kyle said, his voice low. Alex nodded, gripping his weapon. They moved forward together, side by side. The clash was fierce but short. Kyle's strength smashed through the enemy line, while Alex's quick thinking allowed him to disable traps and create openings. One by one, the enemies fell, caught off guard by the cooperation of 2 species they had never expected to fight together. By the time it was over, both were bruised, exhausted, but still standing. Kyle looked at Alex, a new understanding forming in his mind. "You are remarkable," he said. Alex smiled faintly, wincing from his injuries. "And you're not so bad yourself, Kyle." The fire of trust had started. They were no longer just survivors thrown together by chance. They were a team. As night fell, they found shelter in a half-collapsed building. Outside, the distant hum of drones continued, reminding them that danger was never far. Kyle realized that the human beside him was more than just a companion. Alex's courage, intelligence, and instincts were exactly what he needed. And somewhere deep in Kale's mind, a thought took root. Maybe humans, small, underestimated, and unpredictable, were more than just survivors. Maybe they were the key to changing everything. The real test, Kale knew, was still ahead. The night was cold, and the ruins around them looked like the skeleton of a dead city. Cale and Alex huddled in the collapsed building, their injuries burning, their energy low. Outside, the faint hum of enemy drones reminded them that danger was never far. Cale looked at Alex. This human had survived so much, yet he still had a calm determination that Cale could not fully understand. "Why are you here, really?" Kyle asked quietly. He had avoided asking directly before. Alex looked down at his hands, then back at Cale, eyes serious. "I'm not just a survivor," he said. "I was part of a scouting mission. My team was sent to gather information about enemy technology, and, if possible, a weapon that could change the war." Cale raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Humans were often underestimated, but this one... He was holding something powerful in his mind, a plan Cale hadn't expected. "What kind of weapon?" Cale asked cautiously. He had learned not to underestimate humans, yet he still didn't fully trust them. Alex leaned closer, lowering his voice. "It's a device that can disable their drones, their communication, even their weapons temporarily. But it's heavily guarded. If we don't reach it soon, it will be lost forever." Kyle's eyes widened. This small, fragile human held the key to turning the tide of the war. And yet here he was, wounded and alone in enemy territory. Cale realized something that he had never felt before. Humans were not weak. They were clever, unpredictable, and capable of brilliance that others rarely saw. "We need to move quickly," Kyle said, standing. The fire of trust between them had grown into something stronger. They had survived together, and now they had a purpose. Together. Alex nodded, checking his limited supplies. "I know a route," he said. "It's dangerous, but it avoids most patrols. We have to be careful, Cale. One wrong step." His words trailed off, but the meaning was clear. Death was always close. They set off, moving through the ruins with renewed focus. Kyle noticed how Alex watched the patterns of patrols, predicted enemy movement, and suggested paths that Cale hadn't considered. Every step showed Cale the human's ingenuity. "You are amazing," he admitted quietly, almost to himself. Alex smiled faintly, wincing as his injured leg protested. "You'd be surprised what humans can do when we have to," he said. Hours passed. They avoided drones, ducked behind broken walls, and navigated through tunnels filled with the echo of distant explosions. Cale could feel the tension building. The closer they got to the secret weapon, the more dangerous the area became. And then they heard it, the faint hum of multiple drones converging. Someone had noticed them, Kyle hissed. "We are not alone," he whispered. Alex's eyes narrowed. "Then we fight smart. No mistakes." Together they moved forward, using shadows and debris to stay hidden. Kyle was amazed by Alex's calm in the face of danger. Humans were small, fragile, yet this one seemed unstoppable. Suddenly, an enemy patrol appeared, blocking their path. Kyle readied himself, claws glowing slightly in the dark. Alex pulled a small device from his pack. "Distract them," he whispered. Kyle understood immediately. With a swift movement, Cale knocked a piece of rubble to the side, creating noise. The patrol turned, scanning, and Alex slipped past them, using his agility and quick thinking to get to the other side. Kyle followed, his admiration growing. Humans were more than just survivors. They could plan, improvise, and act in ways even a trained alien soldier might not expect. Together they reached a high vantage point, overlooking the facility where the secret weapon was kept. Kyle's eyes narrowed. Guards, drones, and alarms were everywhere. It seemed impossible. Alex turned to Kyle. "This is it. We have to be smart. I have a plan, but we can't fail. The weapon. It could save countless lives. Or if it falls into the wrong hands, it will end the war for them, not us." Cale nodded. He had seen humans underestimated before, but now he understood. This small, unexpected human was not only brave, he was capable of changing history. The two of them crouched, studying the enemy patterns, preparing for the next move. Kyle realized that their bond had grown beyond survival. It was trust, respect, and a shared purpose. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that Alex's courage, intelligence, and ingenuity would carry them further than Cale could ever imagine. But even as they planned, a new thought crept into Cale's mind. The enemy was stronger than they realized. The secret weapon was within reach, yes, but the dangers surrounding it were unpredictable. Every step forward was a test, every choice a gamble. And the real question lingered. Could an alien soldier and a human so different yet so connected truly succeed where so many had failed before? The night stretched on, shadows moving like silent hunters. Kyle and Alex sat in tense silence, preparing themselves. Soon they would move forward, toward the weapon, toward a chance that seemed impossible. And deep down, both knew the journey was far from over. The real challenge, the one that would test their limits and courage, was just beginning. Kyle and Alex crouched behind a pile of rubble, their breaths shallow, hearts pounding. Ahead of them stood the enemy stronghold, heavily guarded by drones, soldiers, and automated turrets. The secret weapon was inside, waiting to be claimed. The air was tense, filled with the low hum of machinery and distant explosions. Kyle studied the patrols carefully. "We can't just rush in," he whispered. "They'll overwhelm us." Alex nodded, adjusting the strap on his weapon. "Then we fight smart," he said, his voice calm despite the fear that Kyle could sense. He was small, fragile compared to Kyle, but there was a confidence in him that made Kyle believe anything was possible. Together, they had survived impossible odds before. Now the real test awaited them. They moved forward slowly, using shadows and debris as cover. Kyle lifted heavy slabs of rubble, blocking the line of sight of enemy patrols, while Alex slipped past, setting small traps and distractions. Their teamwork was flawless, a combination of brute strength and clever strategy. Kyle had never expected a human to be so resourceful, so fearless. Every step brought them closer, but danger was constant. Suddenly a turret activated, its red light scanning the area. Kyle hissed and dived, dragging Alex down just as the first laser shot tore through the rubble behind them. "Keep moving," Kyle shouted. Alex rolled to the side, pulling out a small EMP device. With a precise throw, the device landed near the turret, sending it sparking and silent. Kyle stared, amazed. Humans could indeed think in ways that aliens like him could not. They pressed on, closer to the stronghold. Then, without warning, enemy reinforcements appeared. Dozens of drones and soldiers converging on their location. Kyle growled, readying himself for the fight. Alex glanced at him, eyes fierce. "We fight together," he said. The words were simple, but Kyle felt their weight. The battle began. Kyle's claws tore through the enemy ranks, his strength unmatched. Soldiers fell before him, and drones were crushed under his power. Alex darted between them, using agility and clever tactics to disable enemies and protect Kyle. One by one, they fought through the waves, a strange but deadly team of alien strength and human ingenuity. Kyle realized, with every strike and every trap Alex set, that humans were more than just survivors. They were fighters, thinkers, and heroes in their own right. He felt a rush of respect and awe. This human, small and seemingly ordinary, was extraordinary. Together they were unstoppable. The enemy was relentless, and Kyle began to tire. His wounds burned and his energy faltered. Alex noticed and called out, "Now!" "The weapon!" Kyle nodded, understanding immediately. They had fought to create a moment, and now they had to seize it. They charged forward, weaving through the remaining guards. The weapon was just ahead, glowing with a strange energy. But then the unexpected happened. A massive drone, larger and more advanced than the rest, blocked their path. Its red eyes glowed ominously, and its weapons activated. Kyle hesitated for a fraction of a second, knowing this would be the toughest fight yet. Alex stepped forward, small but fearless. "I've got an idea," he shouted. Using his knowledge of enemy tech, he activated a trap that disrupted the drone's sensors. It staggered, giving Kyle the opening he needed. With a powerful strike, Kyle destroyed the massive drone, sending sparks and metal flying. Alex dashed to the weapon, pulling open the console and activating it. A pulse of energy spread outward, disabling all remaining enemy machines and communication systems. The battlefield went silent, the hum of drones gone. Kyle and Alex stood amidst the wreckage, battered but victorious. Kyle looked at Alex, breathing heavily. You did it," he said. Alex smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," he corrected. Kyle realized the truth in that. Alone, neither could have survived, let alone won. Together, they had accomplished the impossible. Outside, the winds of the battlefield blew through the ruins. The enemy was defeated, their power shattered. Kyle understood something that had grown within him over these days of struggle. Humans, small and underestimated, were capable of greatness. They were clever, brave, and capable of inspiring even the most seasoned alien soldier. Alex turned to Kyle. "We've only won this battle." "The war isn't over," Kyle nodded. He knew she was right. But in that moment, He also knew that as long as humans like Alex existed, there was hope. And sometimes hope came from the most unexpected places. For Kyle, the war had changed. Humans were no longer just another species. They were a force, unpredictable and brilliant. And this human standing before him had proven that sometimes the last hope of an alien soldier could indeed be a human he never expected. The battlefield lay silent after the chaos, broken and scarred, a testament to the fight they had just endured. Kyle and Alex stood at the edge of the enemy stronghold, breathing heavily, their bodies battered but still alive. The secret weapon, now safely in their hands, pulsed softly, a symbol of hope for the galaxy. But even in victory, the danger was not completely gone. The war still raged elsewhere, and the enemy could regroup at any moment. Kyle looked at Alex, awe clear in his eyes. "I never thought a human could do this," he admitted. Alex shook his head with a small smile. "We're underestimated for a reason," he said. "No one expects us to survive, or to fight back. But that's exactly why we can." Kyle nodded slowly, realizing the truth in those words. Humans were clever, resourceful, and brave. They could adapt, improvise, and face odds that others would call impossible. Suddenly, a new wave of enemy drones appeared in the distance, drawn by the weapon's energy. Kyle tensed, ready to fight again. But Alex held up a hand. "No, not this time," he said. He moved quickly, placing the device they had taken at the center of the battlefield. With a press of a button, it sent a pulse through the area, shutting down all enemy machines and communications. The drones fell silent, their systems frozen. The enemy soldiers, now cut off and disoriented, had no choice but to retreat. Kyle watched in amazement. A single human, using his wits and courage, had turned the tide completely. "You've changed everything," Kyle whispered. Alex looked at him, tired but triumphant. "We changed everything," he corrected again. Together, the two survivors walked through the ruins, their footsteps echoing. Kyle noticed how even in the destruction, life was starting to return. Small plants poked through the cracked ground, and distant lights flickered, as systems outside the battlefield slowly reactivated. It was a reminder that survival was possible, even in the darkest places. Kyle thought about the countless alien soldiers he had fought alongside, about strategies, battles, and losses. But now he understood something he had never realized. It was not strength alone that won wars. It was courage, intelligence, and the ability to act when others underestimated you. Humans had all these qualities, and Alex, small and seemingly ordinary, had shown him that hope could come from the most unexpected places. They reached a hill overlooking the battlefield. The smoke had cleared, and the stars began to shine through the twilight sky. Kale turned to Alex. "I thought I was the last hope," he said quietly. "But I see now. Sometimes the last hope comes from someone you never expected." Alex smiled, a glimmer of exhaustion and pride in his eyes. "And sometimes," he said, "that hope is human." As they watched, distant ships appeared on the horizon. Reinforcements from both human and allied forces were coming. Kale knew that the war was far from over, but for the first time he felt a spark of confidence. With humans like Alex, there was a chance. A real chance to fight back, to survive and to win. The battlefield behind them was still dangerous, scarred by conflict and loss. But Kale felt a sense of respect and gratitude he had never known. Humans were more than he had imagined, brave, intelligent, and resilient. They could adapt to impossible situations, outsmart powerful enemies, and endure where others might fall. The HFY truth was clear. Humans, underestimated and small, could triumph against any odds. Kale placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "Thank you," he said simply. Alex nodded, understanding the weight of those words. Together they had survived, fought, and succeeded. Together, they had proven that even the most unlikely heroes could change the course of a war. As night fully fell, the stars reflected off the broken metal and stone, a quiet reminder that the universe was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges. But Kale felt hope now. Hope that humans could face the darkness. Hope that courage and intelligence could overcome strength and numbers. And hope that even in the worst battles, survival was possible. Alex looked at Kale. "We did it," he said, smiling. Kyle nodded. "Yes," he replied. "And the galaxy will remember it. Humans will be remembered." In that moment, Kyle understood the truth he had never considered before. Humans were more than survivors. They were fighters, thinkers, and heroes, and in the fight against impossible odds, sometimes the last hope for an alien soldier could be a human he never expected. The story of their triumph was just beginning.